at some point I might have to completely like redo this all over again. Okay. Gonna make sure that's actually okay. I had kind of like a small hiccup there. But it occurred to me that I have to do some of these precursor orbs again. So might as well record. Before I begin, let me check everything. I'm not muted. Yeah, I had like a weird bad habit of like not doing that. I'm still relatively new at doing this, so I'll get the hang of it. As long as it looks good in the frame. At least I finally figured out how to frame this better. That looks kind of weird. Looks better. It's because the TV is too close, I think. Anyway. But yeah, so where we at? This is a good opportunity to redo some of this stuff. And doesn't matter how long it takes me, I'll just go ahead and post it. And once I post it, then I'll edit that. This is much easier for me to edit a long video and make it shorter than like splice two different videos together and make that so I'm just gonna go ahead and make the longer video, and then I can always cut. It's easy to cut out stuff, but like trying to like find like specific things from specific videos, that's too much work. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend for one moment. This is definitely gonna take me a couple tries. I'm like really far away from even getting the number of precursor orbs I need. So I figured I was gonna do this instead. I'm gonna take a break from the original idea. I'm still gonna try not to use guns, just because. And I'm kind of completely and totally like mad that I figured out something. So it pisses me off so much. I wasted so many. I wasted so many minutes just standing there trying to figure out how to get rid of the cops, and I finally figured out how to do it. It's like easy to do even. Watch. Oh wait, I missed that. To get rid of them first. Still takes 10 years, but okay, now it's being stupid. Okay, I wasn't doing that before. Do I have to like go someone else? I have to be like at a line of sight, I think. Okay, so I have to be at a line of sight. That's how that works. So it takes 10 years. Why does it take 10 years? I don't think I get there fast enough. But it's not enough time. It's just barely enough time. Nope. I think I should be able to do it after like 2 or 3 tries. Yeah, because before I didn't record this, so kind of gives me an opportunity to record it now. Come on. I hate this part. And I was basically able to confirm, like, I was watching a couple other videos, and basically what people were coming down to is there's a complete, like, it's completely RNG. Like, yeah, it's kind of a terrible mission. Definitely a lot of good missions in this game, but it's not one of them. It's a bad one. And so, however long it takes, and in the future, I'll just make the longer video. And like I said, in well, put it this way, my stream and my videos will be different. So, the stream will be long, the videos on YouTube will be, and I might even keep the original one and then have the short one. Actually, that's a good idea. Just in case you want to watch the original. It's likely nobody would because nobody has any patience anymore, but you never know. It's way too easy to do that in this game. Like how it doesn't even start at 1:30. Start at like 1:22. Actually takes you a couple seconds to get going. That's a terrible design within its own right. One 23, 22. It takes you like a second to actually like speed up. Damn it! I was doing so well. I swear, it's like impossible to control this stuff. It's damn it! I lost like 10 seconds. when that happened. Like you can't there's no way you can even recover. Like there's no chance for any like let me keep going. No, you freaking mess up, it's over. I can't figure it out that this path is better than the other path, but I'm not entirely sure. It feels like it is. If nothing else, it feels easier. That makes any sense? The other one feels like harder to pull off. This is like more straightforward. I'll wait too much time. Oh, by the way, I did watch my old video, and what I was talking about the drywall, and had to get some plumbing. That's what I was talking about. Finally figured out what I was talking about. That's why I was bringing up skills, and that's why I was talking about the apocalypse and what would be useful and what would not be useful. I've always kind of wondered like what skills I actually have in a situation like that. It's kind of like a random. And by the way, it is kind of sort of a random thought. And so it wasn't really connected to anything. It was just kind of a random thought, but that's where it came from at the very least. So even though it's random, it wasn't completely random. If you understand what I'm saying, it had like a small purpose. Not bad. Damn, that was a good run. I just don't understand. I know I did this before. That was a good run. I was like not even close to the ending. I didn't have any accidents. It's crazy. Yeah, they were definitely they were definitely kind of rude on specific missions. Like it's possible, but it's barely possible. Ah, or you touch anything, damn it. You know what I mean? And at the very least, I have the idea of how I can free the lurkers. I should be able to do that pretty easily. The only problem with freeing the lurkers is I think you can actually destroy them by doing that. You have to be really careful. Well, I think it's when they get I think it's when you're near the water. Like you don't want to be near the water because if you're near the water, then they die. I think. I think otherwise they're like invincible, but because you always have to blow up the vehicle, so technically you always have to blow up the vehicle. So I think it should be technically okay. And how do they survive that? So they're probably programmed to survive the explosion, but they're not programmed to survive water or anything else. Damn it! So close. I've gotten there before. Getting all the way to the end is tricky. I bumped into too many things. Needless to say, I'm perfectly capable of doing this one, but the racism, on the other hand, yeah, that's not happening. Speaking of missions, I might do the scattergun missions just because it's a good way to get precursor orbs, and it's still technically following the rules. So I just need the precursor orbs. Damn it! I just lost like 5 seconds. Yeah, like basically my mission right now is to get the precursor orbs because the only way to beat the Baron is with Darkjack, and I can't beat him. Um, I can't use Darkjack once and call it a day. I need there's three different sections, so that's not gonna work. You know, comes to mind that technically I never said anything about Darkjack. I said I was gonna try. So technically speaking, if I do this and I make myself invincible, I could do that. I feel like that's kind of cheating though. Actually, wait, can I even do that? I think you can only be invincible after a certain point of the game, but infinite Dark Jack is possible. Or do I have to switch? I might have to switch to Dark to Hero mode. If I have to switch to Hero mode, that's gonna be really hard. Man, now I don't remember. See, certain things are like locked behind certain things, so I won't be able to gain certain powers this early in the game. So I don't remember exactly when that happens. I did think of a couple more jobs that would be really interesting in a situation like an apocalypse. I believe engineer would still be useful because although in this situation that I'm referring to, no computers work, but doesn't necessarily mean that you can't still be an engineer. For example, you can convert all the cars into um, like a manual thing. So they can't use electricity. So you have to have some kind of like water-based system or something. I'm not really sure exactly how that works. I'm not an engineer, but I can kind of I understand it enough that I'm pretty sure something like that would work. Damn it! I was so fucking close. What am I doing wrong? Tony, this one guy I saw, he did it with a couple seconds to spare, and I still don't know how he did it. Is there something I'm just straight up doing wrong? Like, should I be hugging a curve or something? Ah, swear. One little hiccup and the whole run is over. It definitely made it a little bit too. It's a little bit too. You know what I mean? It's a little bit too sensitive. To be perfectly honest, I don't even necessarily mind a mission being too easy. At the end of the day, I just want to play the game, not this one mission, and be stuck on this one mission for the rest of my life. I want to play the game. You know what I mean? Playing the entire game is still hard. No matter no matter how hard a specific mission is or how easy a specific mission is, the entire game is still hard. You know what I mean? It's not about doing this specific mission. It's about playing the game. So making missions too hard for no reason, it's kind of I don't know, bad design. Like the races, for example. Why are the races so ungodly hard? And they are disproportionately hard. Even this one is relatively doable. So this should go to show you what I mean. I would say this is pretty doable, right? But the races, yeah, the races aren't doable at all. some of like the what do you call it, the speed racers, they can do it, but like I don't know, those guys are just built different. But I've seen a lot of those people. They use hacks and all kinds of stuff. I don't know. I think they could do it legit, but there is a way to do it legit. You have to hit every single ring every single time. So you can do it. But man, I'm telling you, the skill necessary for you to do that is ungodly. You have to be like a top 10 video game player to pull that off, I think. Maybe like 1% even. Tell you one thing, having an invisible vehicle would be amazing. One mistake they definitely made is instead of being invincible, I said it just been harder to kill. Like I don't necessarily like the idea of being invincible. Even the unlimited Dark Jack feels like it's too much. Instead, it should like just increase over time or something. Like your Dark Jack meter will slowly increase on its own or something instead of being unlimited. Anything that's unlimited just seems like it's kind of stupid. But like if you just give me like double the ammo, like if you double the ammo or double something instead of making it unlimited, that feels more appropriate. Like I definitely like the idea of like having power ups and stuff, but like I said, being invincible, this seems too much. For example, in Final Fantasy 12, there's a way to beat Yasmet by like standing behind a wall. Basically, it makes you invincible, and I just don't like that concept. And look at me, I'm invincible. Yasmin can't kill me because I'm behind the wall. I feel like this is straight up cheating. I went under the cop. It's hilarious. Ah, I am close. Even if it gave me an additional 10 seconds, I still feel like this would be hard. Like if it gave me a 10 seconds, it would still be hard. But it wouldn't be so impossible, and I wouldn't have to do it so many times. I think if they gave me 10 seconds, I could do it. Oh, I feel like if they gave me the actual time that they're supposed to give you, I could do it. If they actually gave you 130 seconds, then I could do it. But they don't. They give you like 1, 5, 25, 24. somewhere between 23 and 24 is when you really get going. Wow, it really isn't 12% again. The only thing that really annoys me is this actually bothers me to a certain degree. Eventually, you just kind of get bored. I might do a different mission for a while, come back to it or something. Especially when I start doing stuff like that. So, in other news, I start school next month. So, I'm not going to be here as often. Wish me luck. And I don't know if I talked about this, but I hurt myself a couple weeks ago. I'm healing up pretty well, feeling pretty good. Still not quite ready to start training again. I've been doing other things like running and stuff like that. So I'm not letting it slow me down. But it's getting a little bit hard because it's like, I don't know, it's boring. I like the running and I like the leg days and I like that stuff, but the thing I really want to do is arm days, so it's feeling a little bit like I'm missing something. But I did, but this did give me an opportunity to rework my schedule though. So it's kind of like a strange positive. I've actually gotten really good at figuring out a positive, even though it's like not the best, not the best thing. Like a long time ago, I wasn't very good at doing that, but now I can start. Well, put it this way, both, right? So I see the negative, but I also see the positive. You know what I'm saying? My mom always had like this terrible habit of being positive about everything, and I don't agree with that. I like this approach much better. See the negative and see the positive. Because it's possible to be so positive that's actually negative. I don't remember the term for that. Negative positivity, you think? I think that sounds right. Basically, in a nutshell, you're so optimistic that you're being unrealistic, and it's potentially dangerous to do something like that. Like you don't want to be so confident that like you don't see the reality. And in my experience, when people talk about reality, they're usually fairly negative. So I've been very negative for for a fair amount of time, and I never even looked at it that way. But I've actually come to realize that yeah, even though I never really considered myself to be negative, I was I would call it leaning negative. So yeah, I still kind of agree that it wasn't being negative, but I was definitely more negative rather than not, if that makes any sense. So in other words, I was like 60% negative and 40% positive. To truly be realistic, you should be as 50-50 as possible. This is not easy to do because we do tend to be negative. So, since we tend to be negative, it might actually be a good idea to try to be overly positive, because then that would then change the formula. But you have to be overly positive while being realistic. That's hard to do. And if you can do that correctly, then you'll be fine. For example, it's realistic to say I could be the president because I'm old enough. Actually, am I old enough? I think I am. 35, I think it is. Yeah, 35. Yeah. So it's perfectly realistic to say that I could be the president of the United States. I'm an American citizen. I'm 35 years old, and not to be sexist, but I'm male. For a woman to say that, it wouldn't be very realistic. It's perfectly possible, but that's not the same thing as realistic. See, possible and realistic are not the same thing, so do not get confused. Realistic means relatively possible. So one means possible any given number of possible ways, as in it's literally possible. And realistic means that it's doable within a certain level of difficulty. Yeah, it's perfectly possible for me to be the president. Like, I have everything going for me. I'm even Caucasian. I tend to lean towards being independent, but all in all, I would say I probably am closer to being a Republican than independent. So if I did run, I would probably be a Republican because I would have a better chance as a Republican. That's a good example of being realistic. So even though I'm an independent, it would be better for me to be a Republican because it would give me a better chance of winning. Now, the state that I live in, it's actually a better idea for me to be a Democrat, and luckily for me, I do see eye to eye with many Democratic views. I just think personally that I lean towards Republican rather than the Democrat. Just a little. I would say like 55-45. But the reason why I'm independent is because I don't really believe in parties. So I just believe in whoever happens to be the best and whoever seems like the best choice at this given time. I also don't like super delegates and stuff like that. It's completely ridiculous. As a matter of fact, there's a whole list of things I really don't like. So, but yeah, that phrase that I could be the president is technically realistic. It's possible and it's realistic. Now, on the other hand, what's the likelihood? Different word. It's a different word. What's the likelihood that will actually come? I would say very, very small. There's a very small possibility that I could do something like that. So likelihood is not the same thing as realistic. And to some degree, they kind of overlap one another, because in order to be realistic, there has to be a certain level of likelihood. But it's still fair to say that that's a correct statement by me saying it's realistic for me to be the president, because it is. It is realistic. Now, like I said, if I was a woman, it wouldn't be. Why? Because we never had one. So therefore, it's not realistic. Even if you argue, let's just say we had exactly one woman president, it still wouldn't be very realistic just because of statistical probability. The same thing goes with the black president. it's not very realistic that we will have another one anytime soon. At least I don't believe so. Furthermore, I do not believe it's realistic to say that we would ever have a Republican black president. I don't think that's very possible. I think they tend to lean towards being a Democrat. So I don't know. I actually have to look at the Senate. Like how many senators are Republican and whatnot. So I don't. To be honest, I don't know. I'd have to look that one up actually. I take that back. It seems to me that they kind of lean towards Democrat though. This based off of my observations. Actually, I kind of take back what I originally said about parties. It's not so much I'm against parties, as I'm against having two parties. If we had more parties, I would actually be more for it. Not to mention, not to mention, I hate the idea of this whole like um, primary election and secondary election thing because independents don't get to be in the primary. I mean, I think I said that backwards. You know what I mean. They don't have a independents don't have a a pre election candidate, whatever. And I think that's a huge disadvantage because that means that the Republicans and Democrat get to advertise themselves a lot more. Not to mention the arguments are always between Republican and Democrat. Where's all the other parties? It shouldn't be one versus one. It should be like a table of people. I would say at the very least we need to have like three parties to keep it more. I think I think realistically speaking, there needs to be at least one more party to make it fair. We need to have. I think we need to create an independent party because I think in truth the majority of people are probably independent. They probably don't realize it because truthfully, I can agree with both Republican views and Democratic views, which is why I'm not. Which is why I'm against it. Hey, I can agree with both people. Because both people have very good points. And to be perfectly honest, it's hard to pick a side. Ah! Ah, come on, every time. I swear, every time you slow down for like 3 freaking seconds. Maybe longer. I think you lose like 5 seconds when that happens. And you basically have to do this perfectly. No mistakes. This is absurd. Yeah, as much as I love Ratchet and Clank, it definitely had its own problems, but nothing compared to this. I would say the biggest flaw of Ratchet and Clank is probably the bolts. Other than that, I wasn't a fan of his gun collection, to be perfectly honest. And I hate freaking bouncing off of them. You, first of all, you bounce like a mile, so then you have to go over the land that you just went over. So not only do you have to go over the land that you just went over, but you also lose speed. So not only do you lose speed, but you also lose distance. So you lose like 3 seconds to get back to where you were, and then like 1 to 2 seconds to speed back up. So yeah, 5 seconds sounds about right actually. And sometimes you bounce really far, which is ridiculous. Maybe you bounced a little bit, I'm like okay maybe, but like yeah, you bounce pretty far sometimes. It's like what the hell? And then like you get trapped, and sometimes you get trapped. So it's like yeah, you just done. Start over. There's no way. I think the number one rule, if and when I do make my own game, I'm gonna make it so I can beat it. If I can't beat my own game, then I have to adjust it. And I would consider myself fairly good actually. I've seen other YouTubers and frankly I'm like better than them. I'm just not as good as some of the crazy guys. Put it this way, I've lost at least 3 different people that I'm like, yeah, I think I'm actually better than they are. Well, better is not the right word, just put it this way, I saw them struggle a lot more on things that I wasn't struggling in at all. So, needless to say, definitely have higher skill than some of these other guys. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think that's fair. I think I'm somewhere in the middle. See what I mean about the bouncing? And like next time I bounce, like pay attention. Not to mention I'm extremely observant. I don't think I've ever heard anybody else talk about this stuff. Ah, come on! You know what I mean? Everybody's in my way. I hate this game. I think I hate every game I've ever played. 20. It seems to me it's 23 seconds. 23, 22. I was about to say 24, but no, I don't think so. I think it's closer to 23. It's a lot of time. It's like 6 seconds just to get started. Too wide. And I might have to do this another day. Kind of getting impatient. Maybe some other time.